All right, everyone, we're here for the Adepticon reveals. Let's get right to it, because here they are.
To the Adepticon Preview Show 2024. My name's Lewis, and I'll be your host for this brand new show, bringing you all the latest releases from the Warhammer universe. We've got announcements from Warhammer Age of Sigmar, Warhammer 40,000,
very out of sync.
Warcry, Warhammer Underworlds, Warhammer the Old World, Kill Team, and loads more. There's certainly something for everyone, and with that in mind, we've called in our top team of Warhammer presenters to talk to the fabulous people at the studios to give you the lowdown on what's on the way in your favourite games systems. And boy, have they been busy. So, without further ado, let's get started with our first reveal.
That's it. All right, that was a very abrupt entrance. Like, I was fiddling with settings and it snuck up on me. Dread Talon. Yeah, there he is. Separate. Demon Prince. Dark. Were those not sold separately already? Raptor. Veteran of the Long. These are just words. I love words. New Chaos Lord. Okay, cool. He looks great. Legionaries. Yeah, these are all a bunch of stuff that already existed. Just like, are we just gonna run through all the data sheets? This is, or just for those all newest. I'm not sure what they were trying to communicate there.
Let the galaxy burn! It looks like the Chaos Space Marines are back, and the long war is going to be fought with renewed vigor with the return of the Chaos Space Marines. Now, thanks for joining us. We've got Stu and Josh from the Warhammer.
I'm gonna reload real quick.
Us, guys. We've got shiny new miniatures and 2 new battle forces as well.
Just to see if that's I used my Prime sub up so there wouldn't be ads.
Over the Chaos Space Marine stuff.
Oh dang!
And then we've also got the other battle force, which contains a brand new multi-part Chaos Lord. With all kinds of different options. He's got Demon Hammer, he's got Axe, different pistols. So yeah, very exciting.
So cool. I don't know.
And still 2 battle forces as well.
2 battle forces.
Out of sync. I think it's on there and then.
There is too much chaos for one box. And we also tried to make sure that both of those boxes give you a slightly different kind of miniatures collection. So actually, if you want to go all in and get both, just gives you a really good collection of Chaos Space Marines.
That's really cool.
2 starter boxes. Okay, that's what they were trying to say.
Complete without the Codex.
Sure.
What can Chaos Space Marine fans and new Chaos Space Marine fans expect from the new Codex?
Like lots of the codexes that we've done recently, we've refreshed the background, we've added a load of stuff from the events of the Arcs of Omen, so the return of Vashtor, and his pact with Abaddon to finally try and get closer to overthrowing the rule of terror. His planetary engine, the Wormwood, is back in real space, so some more adventures of Vashtor. A load of great rules content as well, so 8 new detachments.
I've yet to buy a 10th edition codex.
Wow. I think we keep the index attachment, but that's been updated. And then there's now 7 new detachments, depending on however you want to play. Do you want to play with a cultist horde? Do you want to play with all your demon engines?
I want to play with my
Do you want to play like that, the Alpha Legion style, which is all infiltrating and sneaking up on people? Whichever your style is, there's a way to play now. That's fantastic. So whichever army you've got, you can sort of switch between detachments and play the way you want to play.
I thought I was prepared, and then it turned out it was the wrong time.
There is, yes. Cultists, yeah. There's
traitor guardsmen as well.
Traitor guardsmen, yeah. There's also others, as Josh said, that kind of lean into a particular style that we associate with some of the legions.
I'll turn it down.
There's a kind of sneaky kind of alpha legion-y kind of one. There's another one
that
enables you to play kind of tanks and siege engines, which has got a bit of an Iron Warriors vibe. But if you want to play a Night Lord siege force, knock yourself out.
I'm supposed to be reacting.
There are word bearers in that book.
Whoa! Sorry for the background also. For some reason, NVIDIA background removal does not like where I put my camera.
The one from the index
they can't see me for some reason.
And the different marks. So that
I put it there.
Cool.
Good stuff. Put it there.
With the gods.
What's a person?
And then all the detachments still can. So that isn't locked to just.
I am using a different camera also. That's my front camera, so I can
so you still have that.
See the framing.
Go for your
that may be part of the problem.
So
it's irrelevant.
Still been enjoying that.
I shouldn't talk about that.
We really wanted to make sure that the whole Chaos Space Marine army has a very different feel to the Loyalist Marine armies. You know, fundamentally they're all like big dudes in power armor, right? So how do we make those things feel differently? Really leaning in from the Chaos Space Marines to the fact that they are empowered by the Dark Gods. They make those pacts both from a rules point of view.
Assault
The miniatures themselves, you see them, they don't just look like Space Marines that have gone evil. You know, they're kind of corrupted by the warp and fused with the dark powers. So we really want to do that across everything: the artwork, the rules, the background sections, the photography. Really trying to capture the dark glory of Chaos.
That's brilliant. Oh, fantastic. I'm excited. So going back to the two battle forces we've got.
That sync is distracting.
Really appealed to me because I have a penchant for close combat, I think it's fair to say. So tell me about that set.
That one would be perfect for you, Si. It's really close combat focused. You've got the new Jump Pack Lord with his Raptor bodyguard.
It's good.
You've also got the Demon Prince in there. You can build that as a wing Demon Prince. So again, super fast, super fighty. And then the rest of that box is rounded out by a cultist horde, the accursed cultists and cultists, kind of at least something that can hold on to the objectives that you've fled past in your, your onrushing charge. Yeah. So yeah, great box for you.
I like an expendable core for my army.
Exactly. Yeah. See, I think I'm a bit more tactical than that. So the Veterans of the Long War box would appeal more to me. It's more of an archetypal Chaos Space Marine force, right? Yeah, so that one you have your Chaos Lord on foot, and then you've got the Legionaries in there, which he can join, or he can join his.
I have the one from Blackstone Fortress.
You've got that anviled hammer unit with the Terminators to control the board.
I should paint those to try to test out my the color scheme I'm thinking about.
Quickly, sir.
Which is just Black Legion.
The enemy and slaughter them wholesale.
Yes.
Black Legion with some
so either one,
maybe some modifications. You probably wouldn't be able to see.
Enjoy them both. So.
Yeah, and they complement each other as well. So
I'm gonna do my Death Guard stuff.
So there we go.
Instead
We've
of
got two exciting
dirty and gross, maybe slightly red tinted. Because they love corn.
Talking about this. Thank you so much.
I don't have any blood for the blood guys.
What a way to start, and that's not the only thing from the 41st millennium we've got to show you. So don't go anywhere, 40k fans. There's plenty more where that came from. Next up, we're traveling deep within the Mortal Realms.
Mortal Realms, baby. Yeah, the audio is decent. I could probably fix that in post. Okay, I should be reacting. It's like, yeah, these guys look cool. These are sick. Age of Sigmar fans, they are eating well every show. Look at that horseman. I love that. There's a living horseman and a dead horseman.
So there we go, Warcry, Briar and Bone is on the way real soon. You can almost smell it on the air. My name's Nick, and joining me is John from the Warhammer Studio.
Oh.
John, Warcry, Briar and Bone. Tell me all about it. What we got?
Okay, so very, very exciting box set. We've got brand new bespoke warbands, both the Ossiarch Reapers and the Sylvaneth. In addition to which, we've got the Ravening Narwhal, which is a giant, horrible creature. It's really, really cool. It's a really, really nasty, horrible piece of terrain, which we'll get to in a little bit. So the Tyrannic cohort
looks sick.
Are a bit of an oddball one for the Ossiarch Bone Reapers because they're effectively exiled constructs. So the thing is with the Ossiarch Bone Reapers is very, very little goes to waste. Okay, everything is built for a purpose, and sometimes the purpose is punishment. Okay, so each of the creatures in the Tyrannic cohort, in addition to the Centaurs in charge, are creatures who are being punished by the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, some kind of perceived failure. So, we all know that the Ossiarch Bone Reapers, never flee, never retreat, win all the battles all the time. Well, that's just patently not true. Okay, every now and again, something doesn't go quite right.
What are you talking about?
And either it's somebody's fault, at which point you're to blame, or, today it's your fault, so you're to blame. So what you end up with is a group of very fast, very mobile outriders. And part of the exile is they don't want you around anymore. Okay, so these creatures get sent out into the very, very outer wilds of the various different mortal realms. And in this instance, this particular warband has ended up in the Narwood because no one really wants to go in there. And the Ossiarch Bone Reapers are already starting to twitch a little bit because of the vast amounts of beast bone that have been made. I'm
gonna try to bump quality up here. I've been having internet troubles.
Ferocious, feral.
So I set it to 360 earlier.
Clinical them as well. So they're a warband of paradoxes. It's very, very cool.
And the models are fantastic.
The models are very, very cool.
Okay, yeah, we reloaded several times that audio.
Yeah. So that's effectively
there we go.
The hook there is got the eyes of Catacross. So not Catacross himself specifically looking through them, but their masters can just see through their eyes because they're effectively outriders. So so the Centroid is in charge of all this. And it's his job to kind of keep everything in line and make sure and whip things into the right place.
That is sick. I love that.
And The warband itself has a unique mechanic which doesn't exist in other warbands across Warcry, which is quite cool. So we're trying to investigate different ways.
Have any of you ever photoshopped your models? Because I was
resources
just looking at
with
little
in very different
bits
ways,
on
okay?
here
Because you
in the
get to spend wild dice when
picture.
using their abilities in order to empower
Because
them.
like I do
So you
slap
get
chop, so
short-term
sometimes
rewards,
the
and you're
edges
not
where
doing
different
quests there,
colors
so later on
meet,
you'll have a wildlife
I
initiative
kind of
or
don't
boost
get close
particular power,
enough.
whatever it might be.
It's like this
That's
guy's got
very
the little
much
sergeant
their
skull
shape
on
of
his
their
head,
work.
and
They're
there's
quite
like
powerful individually.
white around
Certainly
it.
the two bodyguards and the Centroid
I don't
are
want to
very
go in
strong.
there
They're
because
pretty
it's
decent fighters
fine for
overall.
here,
The other fighters in the
but
warband,
at
the
close up
bone
at
beasts
pictures,
and
it's
the
like,
harpies,
how
they're
do I
not
get in there
quite
and
so powerful,
smudge
but
it?
obviously they make up for that by just
I'm
sheer
not good enough
agility
at Photoshop to
and
do
being able
that.
to support your other fighters in their attacks.
Now we've got a Sylvaneth warband in the box as well, the twist wheels.
Yeah, absolutely,
Tell
very,
me
very
about
exciting.
those.
Okay, so the twist wheels are really, really cool. So they're
I
their
just learned how to
background
tint.
is that each and every one of them is infected. Okay, they are not regular Sylvaneth at all. They've got a horrible infection which is corrupting them from the inside out. And one of the reasons they're called the twist wheel is because the Alariel song of life, they hear it in a very, very different way. It's all corrupt to them. The strains are all very different, so they don't quite interact with them the same way. And what they're doing is they're trying to get back to Alariel in order to be cured. So the Swarm Sage in particular has dedicated themselves to trying to cure the twist wheel of their corruption and obviously expose themselves to it as well. And the danger is there that you get cut off from the Song of Life completely and you end up with this horrible warped, twisted creature. And no one really knows what happens there. But what the Swarm Sage is effectively doing is easing out the corruption, because the corruption's like, you can see it on the models themselves, and the Swarm Sage uses its little crazy swarm stuff to just chew off the corruption and literally tear it out of their flesh. And it hurts, it's rubbish. But there's power in that, because
I like
once
this
the
guy.
corruption's torn out of you, you become more energized, and you're able to hear that Song of Life a little bit better. The warband itself functions around the leader, dealing damage to your fighters in order to boost them.
Oh, she's got like a
And they can heal themselves
vine
as well,
side
absolutely,
part,
because healing is a huge part of the
or what do you call? I don't know.
But
Look at my
the
hair. You know
first
I don't
thing
know
in
nothing
the
about
warband
hair.
is, yeah, you want to go hit things.
But dang,
that's
I love
fine,
it.
right, go stab things, profit.
That's a
But at
good
the
look,
same
girl.
time, you need to manage your fighters who are quite fragile very, very carefully, otherwise they'll fall over dead by the time you boosted them up.
Is it more difficult than it sounds, or is it about as difficult as it sounds?
The only one of those I have is
It's
the
not
one with the
terribly
crab in
difficult,
it.
because the damage that she
Because I was
deals
gonna go,
to your
I was
fighters
gonna
off
start
behind
a
this.
Age of
So you
Sigmar
need to have
army
the
and go
abilities in order to
deepkin.
use.
Because
So
I
most
love
of
all
the
those
time you're like,
fishies.
I've got my fighting stats just like a
And
regular
then I just
Warcry.
didn't do it.
And
Didn't
where
do
I
it.
go from there is I've got to decide who
I
gets
could paint
damaged
another
when,
40k
by the abilities I've
army,
got,
you know?
and then obviously you can heal them up as well. Okay, and then the quad is pretty beefy as well. It can do a lot of damage. I think probably one of the most interesting things for this warband are the variety of different fighters. So you've got some corrupted dryads in there, which are regular dryads, but again, they've got the horrible corruption. It's actually a lot stronger and a lot tougher than a regular dryad. And you've also got some tree revenants in there as well, with a variety of weapons you've not seen
There's a
before.
lot of
So
talking
a
in
tree
this one.
revenant
It's
there with
hard to
a
react.
bow, and they've got a
You
very
not
interesting profile.
listen.
very
You gotta
easy to
consider
do with that.
me and my
Because it's damage done
YouTube
in a very, very
viewership.
different way.
Okay, you
The
gotta give
range
me
damage,
something
I should
to.
say, done in a very different way than normally done in
Whoa,
Warcry. And then you've got some fighters who are actually
whoa.
quite tough for Sylvaneth
joking.
fighters.
I'm
There's sometimes
joking.
5 fighters in there with shields, which is quite good. And again, the spear gives you extra bit of reach. And then, of course, there's the corrupted Spite Revenant with the Briar Lash hand, which is particularly vicious if you get them in the right place at the right time.
Now, John, this box also comes with what must be my favourite terrain piece for Warcry for a long time, the Ravening Gnarlmaw. Tell me all about it.
Well, you've chosen a good one to be your favourite. It's one of the more creepy pieces I've seen so far.
Yeah,
so the
give me a
Ravening
close-up
Gnarlmaw
on that.
is a terrifying piece of kit. So it's like any other Gnarloak. It's a giant predatory flesh tree that burrows into you, drinks your blood, and then hangs you from its branches to just slowly drain the life out of you.
Man,
or
goes
just
an awful
kills you.
place.
Looks bad.
It's horrific. Now, these things are terrifying, and the Gnarlwood is full of them. And of course, the Gnarlwood is also full of just people who live there or around it. And every now and again, they get it into their heads that maybe they can kind of half tame one of these things. Now, that's impossible. It's a laughable concept. Taming anything in Gur is generally a very bad idea. So what they do is they kind of tie its roots down a bit to make sure it doesn't move off too much or eat them in their sleep, okay? And then they make like a little sacrificial altar out of it. And when a Gnarloak doesn't really need to go anywhere to feed, it kind of turns into one of these things. It's one of the many different creatures this thing can spawn out of, because obviously the magic in the realm can twist things in all kinds of horrible manners. So effectively what people will do is they'll go, okay, as long as we feed you,
Like this guy.
could you just
This guy's
scare
fun.
off all the other Gnarlokes and maybe eat whatever isn't us? Now, the Gnarloak has absolutely no concept of like actually what's going on, really. It just gets fed every day, so it sits still, right? But yeah, people will drag it up onto that bamboo platform, chuck people into the maw. kick people, and then you can do that during the game as well, which is obviously tons of fun. You know, you got to be really careful if you're standing up. But you know, it provides a bit of interesting. It provides players an interesting question when they're playing the game. That okay, so it's a platform, it's high up, it's a vantage point, it's quite a useful place to be. And if there's an objective up there, there's a treasure token or something, you really want to go up there, you got to be quite careful. You don't just move up there, pick up the treasure, and then end your turn, because otherwise, you know, in comes the clothesline and over you go and you're dead.
John, thank you so much for talking to us about Warcry, Briar, and Bone. Thank you guys too, but stay around. There's more on the way.
More on the way. We got the Flesh Eater, Windhammer. Oh, that guy. What's going on with that man? Y'all have all of these gotten proper Sigmar rules? They were doing that. That's really the only way I would do it, is because I'm never going to play this. I'm sure it's fun. See, this is why. Maybe they fixed it.
So there we go, the new
No,
Warhammer Underworld.
they did not
is
fix the
just
audio.
over the horizon. My name's Nick, and I've got John with me from the Warhammer studio to talk all about it. John, good to have you here, man.
Thank you very much.
What is Wintermoor? Tell me.
So Wintermoor is the next evolution in the story of
Oh,
Death
my
Gorge.
mouse pad's
Death
constantly
Gorge was
falling
a
off my desk.
large ravine, and now what happened is we've gone beneath that again to even deeper underworlds.
It's even colder down
under
there.
the underworlds. Yeah, it's absolutely awful down there. No one's having any fun. It is a miserable, horrible, cold, frigid place to be. There are horrible giant worms trying to eat you alive. There are horrible parasites crawling in the dark, trying to eat your brain, drink your soul. It's just terrible. And obviously we've got these poor unfortunates here who are right bang in the middle of it.
They've not even wrapped up warm. Look at
No,
them.
not even. They've got,
What's
they've
the
got faith in
living
the
Iron
powers
Maiden
of keeping them
do?
warm. So their delusions are keeping them well toasty.
So, of course, it's the new season box. It's perfect place to start playing the game, of course.
Unquestionably.
And also great for people who already play the game as well.
Absolutely, yeah. So there's something here for everybody. If you're a current fan of Warhammer Underworlds, you've got
What is the deal with that guy?
Loads of different play styles, loads of cool new mechanics to engage with. And if you're brand new to the
Also,
game,
who are these
again,
guys
it's absolutely
supposed to be
perfect. You've
on
got
the
everything
right?
in there you need to play the game. You got your rule book, you got warbands. You can play against somebody else. They don't even
What
need
are
to
you?
play
What
box
is your
set, you can play
deal?
both the same one. And they've all got rivals decks. So there's plenty of like replayability in there as well. You can swap rivals decks around. You can do Nemesis. You can do whatever you like. So loads to get stuck into there.
Now,
Late.
we've got to talk about the miniatures.
I thought this was an hour earlier than it
Just
was.
brilliant. There's 2 brand new warbands in here. Tell us about them, John. What we got?
So where would you like to start? Would you like to start with the delusional Flesh Eater Courts, or the arguably just as delusional Brethren of the Bolt?
We'll start with the slightly more delusional ones.
Slightly more delusional ones. All right.
Yeah.
So we'll go for the Flesh Eater Courts. So this particular warband, their whole shtick is walking up to enemy fighters and whacking lumps off them with their massive cleavers and chains and hooks and all the rest of it, and preparing the meat in the perfect way to serve their lord. And they're, broadly speaking, an aggro-style warbands. What that means for people who don't understand the term is they're all about getting stuck up in your face and shanking you with all the horrible rusty cleavers and spikes that they've got attached to themselves. And the way this warband functions, which is very different, is that there's no recursion. People don't come back to life. So ordinarily,
Placement of the hair on the Batman is interesting.
These are all, you know, very, very highly trained chefs, right? They're the absolute peak of their art. So they're not very easy to replace. And as a result, you only get what you start with.
Okay, so they sound absolutely disgusting, but on the other side of the board, we've got the Brethren of the Bolt.
Correct.
Who are these guys?
Okay, so the Brethren of the Bolt are they're part of the Cities of Sigmar faction. Broadly speaking, they're all human.
Okay.
For now.
Mileage may vary. And they are effectively the worshippers of Sigmar. They're the crazy flagellant side of things. However, they have a very, very unique alignment in the sense that they've all been in some way, shape or form struck by lightning. Now, some of them believe that they were intentionally struck by Sigmar's divine lightning. Some of them were just hitting the head really hard. But they've all got some kind of interaction with the Azerian heavenly divine lightning in some way, shape or form. And they do a couple of unique things. There's two really big ones that I'd like to touch on in the time we've got, which is that the first one is they all start inspired, because they start with this kind of etheric charge attached to them. Every time they blast you with their divine tasers, what happens is all that charge goes out of them, nukes whatever's in front of you, and then all the lightning goes away. At which point they need to be recharged. So what happens is, as you fight through, you can fight through your fighters. So which can increase the range of your melee attack actions, which is really, really good. So it means you're never really quite safe as the opponent. You've really
This
got
is
to
a
play
great
around really
reaction
carefully.
video.
But effectively, whenever you tase an enemy through one of your friends,
This is my
they inspire
reaction
again and they get
right
charged up. It's
now.
great. They're a lot of fun to play. They're quite hilarious. Some of the cards are very funny too, and they're really cool.
So
This would
the
make more
Wintermore
sense
box
live.
doesn't just come with those warbands, it also comes with 2 rivals decks that anyone
Too
can
bad
use
I
for
live out in the
any
middle of
warband.
nowhere.
Tell us about those.
Absolutely. So yeah, so again, really good incentive to get the box set if you don't even collect these warbands.
Yeah.
And of course, when you're playing them, you can swap them around as much as you like. So we start with Rhymeworm's Bite, which is effectively an environmental disaster deck. So these horrible giant worms just come plowing through the board and just devour everything in their path. And what the deck allows you to do is not necessarily manipulate them, but effectively get out of the way first.
Now, there's a second rivals deck in there as well called the Hungering Parasite deck, which is really unique, isn't it? How's it work?
Okay, so the Hungering Parasite is a tiny little fragment of the God Beast Krakatoa, which is this horrible big amorphous glob goo thing. And this tiny little fragment is frozen off and broken. So it's this tiny little bit of a God Beast that's scuttling around. And effectively it's just this frozen chunk. And then whenever something living gets near it, it thaws just enough to just latch onto it. The deck is designed towards, it's a really control style deck. You've got to manipulate the position of either the fighter with the parasite, be it yours or your opponent's, or you've got to kill people with the parasite, or you've got to make sure the parasite's in the right place at the right time. It's easier said than done.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sounds it.
Because obviously your fighter's uninspired, so they're just not good. They're probably never going to get much better throughout the course of the game. But in addition to that, at the end of a round, if there's no one for the parasite to latch onto, it feeds. Okay, so if there's enemies nearby, they all get staggered, which is great. And if there's no enemies nearby, then the fighter with the parasite takes damage.
Okay.
Which would eventually kill them.
John, thank you so much for coming to talk to us about Warhammer Underworld's Wintermore. It's been great to look through the box sets, but keep with us, guys. There's more coming up soon.
Some fantastic releases there, and that's not the only announcement we'll have for Warhammer Age of Sigmar during the show either. What could it be? I hear you cry. Well, more on that later. Until then, check these out.
Okay. Okay. He's got a lizard. Yeah. Ooh. I love that head. Look at this big horn.
Oh, wow, what a miniature. Abraxia, Spear of the Everchosen. We are joined here by Matt and Phil from the Warhammer Studio, guys. Pleasure to have you with us to talk about this great new miniature. Phil, I'll start with you. Abraxia, who is she?
She is none other than the right-hand woman of Archaon Everchosen. This woman is in control of the Varangard. That is no small feat because, of course, every member of the Varangard is a Chaos Lord or above. And so she has essentially got incredible martial power. She's been tasked with striking into Gyran.
Find you a woman with
snuffing
horns
out
so
the
big
flames
she
of
can't
hope
walk
that
through the
Sigmar has
door.
established there. Now she has a spear, Gorbolgo, which is like essentially a mutating spear. Anything touched by that will turn into an awful chaos spawn. It will also mutate
No.
unless she keeps the range, unless she keeps her concentration. And the one time she had a lapse of concentration, horns grew out of her head. It's essentially
I hate when that happens.
It's a test. It's a test from Archaon. That spear is very dangerous stuff to see if she's worthy of the role. And she's riding the Thanatorg, this great scaly beast. She hits like a ton of bricks, and behind her come the Swords of Chaos themselves.
That's so cool.
So the inner core of the Varangard, aren't they? The Swords of Chaos.
Absolutely, yeah. And we see her essentially cutting a red swathe through Gyran. It doesn't go all her way. She unfortunately contracts something rather nasty in the process from the Flesh Eater curse and starts to get the delusion of the Flesh Eaters. And she has to go and deal with that by conquering a certain place. But no spoilers. You have to wait and see.
That's great.
Minor spoilers.
Minor spoilers. Minor spoilers. Yeah.
That can't be helping keep on top of her spear, can it?
Well,
She's
indeed.
like
Well, that's a
suffering
journey. We, right from the get-go, we see a character that is really having to keep the balance and hang on, for dear life. And whether she makes it through, whether she has the willpower and the skill, you'll have to wait and see.
Yeah, quite overt price of power. And
Yeah. Well, it's Archaon's world, so this is the big leagues, and she, as you can see when you see her on the battlefield as well.
So speaking of which, she comes as part of Abraxia's Varan spear, so it's her and 3 Varangard. That sounds devastating. How does she play on the battlefield?
yeah, so obviously, given her role on the battlefield, kind of as the head of the Varen Guard, she has very, very strong synergy, particularly very strong command synergy with Varen Guard. So
I see how long this was going to be.
Really cool seeing that. As Phil talked about, her kind of mutating spear that can have a risk for herself, can power up, can kind of do damage and mutate nearby enemies. But it's really the synergy with the Varengard where you're really getting that big value. You can also take Abraxia with Battle Line Varengard in her Army of Renown featured in the book. And that gives you a whole new host of tricks to build and play with an army.
Every game of Sigmar I've watched has been fun. I think it makes for a fun game.
Really focusing in on the Varengard and their power.
I don't know what it is.
Absolutely terrifying.
I don't know what it is. It keeps me at arm's length.
Yeah.
Like there's all these
thanks for joining us, Matt. Phil,
phenomenal models. The game looks really fun.
So hang around, folks. We've got more to come.
I don't know that I care that. I just can't
over the
bring
course
myself
of
to
the
care.
Dawnbringer story arc, we've seen 2 crusades, the twin-tailed crusade we call it, head out from Hammer.
Maybe I just need to
Hammer
look
Archer,
into it
Hammer
more.
Gyro,
Maybe I just
Gyro.
need to read
And they have
something.
had so many trials and tribulations over the course of this storyline. We've seen them rise and fall, have moments of triumph and moments of real
Come on.
tragedy.
I read
So what we see
one of
with
the horror
Acche, Hammer
compilations.
Acche, is that
It was
they
pretty
head
good.
Eastwards, they think they've found somewhere there that is viable, that they can defend, which is the ruins of an old city called Embergard. And it's kind of like a haunted place,
Old
really.
World
They had a lot
is-
of trouble with nasties in the basement, the Night Haunt that had dwelt there.
You made me not
but they
play the
have now
game.
managed to claim that
Game looks
space,
crazy.
And Sinestra and the Cult of the Wheel have
troll
taken
hack.
that
I want
place
the
of
troll
conviction and
hack.
faith.
There's a
Gyro,
giant. I'm gonna
we've
buy
seen
that
them
giant. I don't
thrash
care.
their way
I don't
from
care that I don't
jungles
have the
and
credit for it.
forests,
I'm buying them.
scabrous sprawl, swamplands, mangroves. They've basically had a horrible time of it.
That made to
trying
order
get up
metal
north.
giant
You found
go
their
around
own city called
sale this
Verdigris.
weekend.
Verdigris is looking like maybe that's going to work
so
out,
goofy.
but we'll see what happens over the course of Dawnbringer 6. Abraxia, the Spear of the Everchosen, she is the right-hand woman of Archaon himself, the Supreme Grand Marshal of Chaos, and she's part of the Varengard. The Varengard are like elite Chaos Lords. Every one of them is sort of Chaos Lord power. She's fought her way up from the fighting pits of the Varenspire. Ever since she was a child, she's been really good with a spear, and she has no morals at all about who she kills and when she kills them, so she is a real fearsome character. The only catch here is that Archaon doesn't fully trust her and actually wants to test her. So he's given her the spear called Volga, this magic spear, and although it mutates...
Chaos people don't trust each other?
All you need to do is scratch
They were all best friends.
They devolve into a horrible spawn thing. It can also do that to the wielder if the wielder loses their concentration. That did happen once in Abraxia's history, and that's why she has those horns, is it only took a momentary lapse of her concentration and she started to mutate. So with that spear, Archaon is
Chaos
testing
spawn
Abraxia.
girl.
Provided she stays in control, as long as she does, things are peachy, but she cannot afford to fail. So we talked a bit about Abraxia right at the top end, the higher echelons of the Chaos power struggle. Right at the bottom there, we have tribes of basic people like you and I who are trying to get by out in the wilderness, and the Dark Oath exemplify that. They make bargains with the Dark Powers to try and survive, and Gunnar Brand and his family are a great example of that. So Gunnar Brand himself is not just a big fighter, he's very powerful in combat, but he's also kind of the brains of the operation. He's a very clever dude, and he doesn't really want to see his family slide into chaos. Neither does he want to particularly kowtow to Sigmar. He, like all Dark Oath, he's got a massive chip on his shoulder about the fact that Sigmar basically bailed on them, and they had to resort to these dark methods to survive. He's got his daughter Singri with him, a sort of expert horse archer. Tanari Tackblood is his rival, the War Queen. Now, unfortunately, it's not that simple if you're enthralled to chaos. He starts getting involved in the Archaon's grand plan and the pawns that are moving around the board, and some hidden forces.
See, this is why I had it set to 360p.
Lurking in the shadows that are also effectively using the Dark Oath as pawns. So running parallel to this story, we also see some old friends, Vandus Hammerhand and Korgos Kol, the mighty Lord of Khorne, his nemesis. Now these are characters we brought into play at the beginning of the Realmgate Wars, many years ago, 8-9 years ago now. It's gone from essentially a small vendetta into an all-consuming passion for Vandus Hammerhand. All he wants is to get his revenge on Kull. Kull killed his sons in a former life, way back when he was mortal, and he is definitely obsessing about it now. It's kind of bringing things off kilter and actually maybe splitting the crusade and splitting the loyalties of the people that should be united in the face of chaos to pursue his own agenda. Now Korgos Kol, all he needs to turn into a demon prince is that last skull to cap his pyramid, to the real capstone to what he's been working on all these years. And so he has his own agenda, and it doesn't go the way you think it might. So I'm looking forward to people seeing how that story, that ancient rivalry, actually ends in Dawnbringers. So Dawnbringers is not only ending an era, the era of the beast, where we've seen destruction in the driving seat. We see that come to an end in Dawnbringers, but we also see the beginning of a new era. And there are signs for those who are paying attention of what that might be and where that might lead. On a personal level as well, so Vandus is a good example.
So many
of that.
sick models.
He is not his
So many.
former self, and his journey, he's almost exemplary of what the Stormcast have to deal with as they die and are reforged and die and are reforged, and their souls pay the price over time. So where his journey leads is really interesting, and we'll open a new chapter of the story as a result of that. So one of the great things about the Dawnbringers series is we've seen people on the ground, boots on the ground story, but throughout that there have been little happenstances and agendas and clashes where a greater story is unfolding, and it's been done in secret. It's behind the scenes because the people orchestrating that story, and I'm talking gods here and demigods, are not keen on showing their hand until the last minute, and it ends with this great climactic explosion of violence. Of course it does, it's Warhammer, and the Mortal Realms will never be the same again.
What? Everything is friendly in Warhammer. Everything's so friendly.
So that was a fantastic video showing off Dawnbringers 6. Here with me is Phil.
Boxes all the way over there.
No problem.
So we've
My
seen
paint
Twin
box is
Tail
all the way
Crusades
over there.
Hammerhall Aksha and Hammerhall Gyra. They faced an awful lot of trouble getting to where they are.
That's fair.
Can you sort of summarise what the Dawnbringer story has brought us so far?
I like
So
Way
we've
a
seen
little better,
two
but I think
Crusades,
all
and
good
by
on
Crusades,
War
these are
Masters.
definitely the largest that the Sigmarite cities have put out yet. Statement of intent, really. Sigmar has to put his flag in the sand and say, everything's going fine, by the way, and we're definitely founding these two
everything's so
new
sick.
cities. It's more of a morale
Also
and propaganda thing than anything else. But unfortunately, as is the way of Warhammer and the way of the Mortal Realms, it has not gone smoothly. We know that one city will rise and one city will fall, and that leads us into some new characters and some new adventures.
You mentioned new characters there. We've got Abraxia, the Spear of the Everchosen. Can you tell us a little bit about her backstory? Because we've not seen her before.
We discussed a little bit about how she's the preeminent warlord of chaos and the leader of the Varangard. Archaon's right.
Got a gun. He's got a gun and he's on the back of a man.
The 8 points. So this is a kind of a sub-realm
fun.
where chaos rules. It's Archaon's seat of power. And she was born there. She grew up there, and she has had a very bloody history from day one, from being an infant, really, all the way up to her current incarnation. She's had to strive to overcome all the chaos tyrants and rivals and would-be kings. And she's risen to the top. She really is that good.
Transformative work.
Archaon is
Transformative work.
testing her, essentially, and testing her as a general by giving her the most powerful stuff and the most.
What do you want to paint in Age of Sigmar?
She better
for me?
not fail.
We've seen the Forces of Destruction, the Forces of Order.
I'd get rid of
this
them.
Feels like a culmination.
A lot of them were
and now we're
guests,
seeing
so.
sort of chaos stamp
I
its
can't
mark
get rid of.
on
I have
Twin Tail
Dominion, so I
Crusade.
can't get rid of it.
Can you give us a little
a
hint
gift.
as to what the plan is here?
Obviously, the Forces of Order have by no means overtaken the lands or conquered what they lost. Chaos is still very much in the driving seat in Age of Sigmar. The Forces of Sigmar, the God King, are trying to strike back, and they've made some inroads and some beachheads, but 9/10 of the land is still in the Forces of Darkness, one way or another. So every time Sigmar tries to set something up, there's a Chaos Force nearby waiting to knock it down. And we've seen various incarnations of that over the years. But this is a real precision strike. This is Archaon sending out his brightest and his best to make a counter statement to say, no, you don't get to found 2 new cities. I'm going to destroy those. Everything you set up, I'll knock down. So we're really seeing a battle effectively between Sigmar and Archaon here, but through his foremost general, through his
It's still
champion.
gonna work out.
She's a really interesting character.
So you've mentioned that the Forces of Chaos have been knocking down everything that the Forces
a
of Order
lot
have attempted to
of-
build. Now, in this book, there's mention of the
Check
Nexus
it out on my YouTube
Chaotica.
channel.
Can you give us a little bit of
Love
information about what
Quattro.
that is? Because
Unfortunately,
I think
now
that's
all I
relevant
have to
this.
do
I
is
love that thing. It's
press
just so
forward on
mental.
difficulties and
Essentially,
challenge.
this is
Challenges
kind of
are
like
for
a
you
power
two.
siphon, a chaos engine, really. And where they place these things, much like
I
the
gotta unlock the
Dawnbringers,
rest
are
of the
trying
decks.
to put their Nexus siphons and their aquiliths and essentially drain the land of the magical
That's
force.
also
and apply
sick.
The magical inherent force of the realms.
You keep throwing me
Chaos
sick
version
thing.
is corrupting and twisting.
Everything is sick.
and
That's sick.
bleeding
That's
the
sick.
realms dry,
That's sick.
and that's what
That's
we
sick.
see in
That's
this
sick.
form.
It's all sick.
So any wizard, any sorcerer, chaos sorcerer near that can draw on the power from the Nexus Chaotica. It's like another sign that
The
chaos
Nexus
is striking back.
That was
Chaotica.
fantastic. There's a lot to look forward to there. Thank you very
I'm
much
not
for
very
joining
good
me,
at
Phil.
syncing
No
audio,
problem for
but I will
everybody at
try.
home. There's some more fantastic reveals coming.
Now we
Christmas
are
already knows
cooking
whether I
another set
succeeded
of
or I
absolutely
failed.
awesome releases.
This is
and
not
some
live.
really insightful stuff from the studios on what's to come too. Very exciting stuff. Now, time for a little teaser and another reveal.
All right, what do we got? Yeah, hell yeah. Love that grimdark future. No, that's not Mars. Very Mars-esque. Oh, maybe it was Mars.
Well, Alex, I may be no lore master, but I'm pretty sure I could put 2 and 2 together based on what we've just seen. Or maybe that should be 1 and 0 because it's binary.
Indeed, there were some fantastic clues there, including one big red one.
Yeah, and of course, if you reckon you know what it is yourself, why not join us on social media and tell us what you reckon it is?
Head over to Warhammer Community.
40K rules for the Horus Heresy stuff. No,
Anywhere.
they're not going to do that now.
Fantastic reveals coming.
Too bad, because this is all so sick. Old world! Yeah. It's going to take so much willpower to not buy the troll hag this weekend. I may just do it. You could see it now because I couldn't figure out how to make it not show up, but yeah, it's bad. I need to not buy anymore. An entire corner of my dang room. I'm doing pretty good, but I might buy the troll hag. Oh, the heavy sentinels this weekend too. There you get that. That goofy metal giant and the troll hag.
So,
I don't know
we've
when I'll
just seen a
paint that. I
fantastic
can't
video
post
showing
it
off
anywhere.
some beautiful models for the
Who's
Dwarven
this
Mountain
giant
Lords.
green
so
nude
these guys
woman?
are getting some attention now in the old world. Thank you guys for joining me. Can you tell us a little bit
That's
more
why I gotta
about
buy
the
it.
Dwarven
No,
Mountain
guys,
Holds
being
and how they play?
great.
So what we've seen is a whole bunch of classic
Bring
miniatures
that
that are going to be coming
back.
back to the range. I know a lot of Warhammer players are very excited to see some of these miniatures come back, but we've also just had a very gentle teaser of some of the new stuff that might be coming
Skaven.
alongside some of the other bits and bobs we've got going on.
I
with
don't
the,
care.
Dwarven Mountain
Bring out
Holds.
Brilliant.
Skaven.
We saw warriors, longbeards.
Yeah, we saw some Thunderers and Quarrelers, we saw Warriors, we saw Longbeards. The other things that we've seen in there, we've seen some of the
I
Slayer
have so much
units.
stuff.
We've seen
This stuff is on the floor.
Goblin Hewer returning. We've seen our Doomseekers
Skaven.
back, and championing
Skaven.
Slayers.
New
We've
in
also seen
packaging.
a brand
New
miniature
in
that I imagine we'll dive into in a little bit.
I have
We
two
also
of
saw
them.
some range there with the cannons and just
Two
a
of them.
shot there with the whole army.
They had
We
a
saw the
Great
Amber
Horned
Doom in
Rat, the old Great Horned Rat
Yes, yeah,
too, but I
Dwarf
thought they were
players
charging a
will
little
enjoy
much for it,
returning
and
the
I
Amber
very
Doom,
much
I'm
regret
sure.
not buying it.
Boosting and bolstering the Dwarven lines.
Because it was
and sort of
that
smiting some
they don't move a lot of
Dwarven
Warhammer
at
stuff
the
at this
enemy as
place
well, and
that I got this
no
from.
Dwarven line is complete without some artillery.
of course.
But that moved. That
What
was
sort
gone
of
the next
artillery
week.
Can we expect? Because we've seen some of them in the Forces of Fantasy.
So we've
They
got
have
the classic bolt thrower,
so
and
many
grudge
of
throwers
those.
returning. Any traditional dwarf worth their
God,
salt
what was
will
it?
be happy to see those returning. Then we've got some of the
This,
newfangled things. We've
not
got cannons and Roman guns
Psychic
returning as well, so
Awakening, the other
even those
campaign
younger,
book, the
more
War
sort of,
Zone books.
up and coming
Like
engineers who
they
like the
got
black powder will be happy to
so
see them coming
many
back.
of the
In
second
the Forces
one.
of Fantasy, you were
I
always
don't
able
think
to
they've sold a
break
single one, and
gun
they've been
line
sitting
or,
there since
quite a
release day.
static force. They could
And
move a little
I
bit.
wish they'd asked
What does
me.
this,
Don't buy
the
those,
range
dog.
bring now?
Only
What
people who actually
other
play the
ways can you
game
play Dwarven
care
Mountain
about
Holds?
those, and
Well,
there are a lot
as
less
you say,
of
you've got
those
your very
than people who
traditional
just,
sort of gun line that we've
paint
seen in
models.
previous editions. Lots of Thunderers and artillery sort of being arrayed on a hill and blasting away at the foe as they come.
God, I wish I'd gotten
But
that
you've
rat.
got sort of the more dwarven traditional
Take up my
approach
part.
of relying on
The new
good
one's
old-fashioned technology that's
newer.
worked for generations. You things, your quarrelers, and as I say, your bolt throwers and your grudge throwers, and just good old-fashioned dwarven
Very
steel.
wow.
Sometimes there's nothing more satisfying than taking a well-made dwarven axe and applying it to some goblins.
Speaking of slightly older miniatures, I did notice a certain dwarf on a cart in that video.
Yes, we do have the return of the Bugman's cart.
So obviously one of the things we saw was a beautiful army shot at the end there with everything ready to go. How would you go about starting a Dwarven Mountain Holds force? You know, what would you bring together as your core, and what might you add to that afterwards?
So the backbone, the core of any dwarf army is the warriors. And
I'm not up
the
to date
missile
on
troops,
all
be that
the
handguns,
old world tabletop
quarrelers.
tech
Dwarves
videos
traditionally
they've been
fighting
doing.
shield walls, fighting with great weapons and their shields interlocked together, supported by dwarves carrying crossbows and handguns. And all of this supported.
I don't know what it is.
lots
It's
of
just
artillery,
more
from very
interesting
traditional
than
dwarf artillery pieces like the bolt throwers,
like
the
Age of
crux
Sigmar.
throwers, more modern.
Hate to rag
war
on Age of
machines such as
Sigmar because I think
cannons
it's so
and flame
cool.
cannons,
There's so many
and
aspects of
less
it that are so
honourable war
cool.
machines such as the Goblin
just-
Ewer. All of
I
this
don't
capped
think
off and
the
supported
story's
by
super
airborne cavalry in the
interesting,
form of
but it moves.
gyrocopters
There is a
and
story.
gyrobombers.
That's
Some of these
cool.
are quite new inventions. Some of these are quite old traditional things that dwarfs rely
I know.
on.
The core box.
Every time I think about this, I feel like it's
Dwarf
my fault.
warrior
Like,
box. How
there's
flexible
something
is
wrong
that?
with
Because
me.
I remember in the past that you could build it with hand weapons, with great weapons. So
This should be
how does that feature into
so
the
cool
gameplay?
to me.
Oh, it's a very flexible kit, as it always was. As you say, it allows you to build dwarf warriors with hand weapons and shields, dwarf warriors with great weapons. The alternative
You know what I
kit,
should
the
be doing
missile troops,
here?
allows you to build
I
them
don't
with
know if they've
dwarf
got them.
handguns or crossbows.
There's
So
subtitles.
again, very, very diverse kits that can be used to make warriors in different types. Also can be used to make rangers, can be used to make missile troops. Lots and lots of variety from just a few kits.
So these are the dual kits that are returning.
over here, right?
The
Not
hammers
over
and
here.
longbeards,
No.
and the
Dang.
iron breakers and iron drakes.
I wish there was.
Yeah, these are the kits that represent the more elite parts of your army. The hammers being the Thanes and the King's personal bodyguard, the Longbeards being the older, more seasoned dwarfs who grumble their way through a battle but are not very afraid of anything. The solid backbone of the army, the dwarfs who the young beardlings look to for leadership and inspiration.
You know, when protecting a king, we can't not mention that gorgeous new miniature. We've got a king on 3
Pretty good.
dwarven warriors.
I've seen the old
big
one
shield
recently.
being
One
carried
of the
around.
people I follow on
What's it
Instagram
like
pinned
working with that kit?
the
The
old
new
one.
dwarf king with shield
Something
bearers.
similar to
It's
that.
a stunning kit. Allows you to make a dwarf king with shield bearers and an alternate dwarf king or thane on foot. The astute watchers will have noticed that the shield is now borne aloft by 3 dwarfs, not 2, making it a far more large and impressive kit that takes up the space of 4 models within a unit, and looks absolutely amazing when ranked up amongst the hammerers, amongst their personal bodyguard. This is a kit that comes with a couple of different build options. You can have the dwarf king with a hand weapon and shield being borne aloft, and a thane on foot with a great weapon, or vice versa. You can change the components up and build it in a couple of different ways.
So obviously the setting of the old world is several hundred years before the reign of Karl Franz. Are there any returning characters we might expect, as dwarves are quite a long-lived race? So I can imagine there might be some people or names that we can recognise that are still alive, now and later on.
Yeah, absolutely. As you say, dwarfs are quite long-lived. So there's definitely going to be a few names that people will recognise from the old days of Warhammer Fantasy Battle.
Yeah. That was their reasoning for why there's no Skaven. Or Skaven
in our time period,
moving
he is
openly.
The king of the Slayer.
As I understand it.
And what we get to look at him now as a younger, more vibrant, more active dwarf.
3 feet.
And he's not the only one. There's going to be a couple of other characters.
If you like feet, there's a lot of feet in the Balastro video. Check it out.
So we've seen some brilliant older models coming back, and a couple of glimpses at some fantastic.
Very
models.
sexy.
Thank you very much for showing us everything and for telling us all about them. Dan, Jonathan, thank you for joining us.
Our pleasure.
For those of you watching at home, there's some more fantastic reveals coming up, so don't go anywhere.
I'm not.
Welcome back. Enjoying yourself? Good. Don't forget, you can let us know which releases you're most excited about by hitting us up on any of our socials. And you can remind yourself of all the releases you've seen after the show over on the Warhammer Community website too. I know.
I'm going to break my rule to buy her.
40k action, didn't I? Well, let's dive back in with some more announcements and maybe even another little teaser too.
Yeah. Jigsaw or Cult? They already have so much stuff. Oh, it's Kill Team. Okay. Okay. That's interesting. Oh, it's Votan. More Votan. Votan need it. Votan need new boys bad. These are guys. I like those. Finally.
So there we go, the new Kill Team Battle
Votan aesthetically just aren't as they are. Just not working for me. I like that much better. That a big thumbs up. Way improved.
What we're dealing with. these guys
Make them
are
not
awesome.
look like
Set on
StarCraft.
Beta Decima by the look of it. Can you tell us about how the story's evolved since last time?
So you could say Beta Decima has had a bit of a tough time recently with the Gallowdark event. The Genestealer cult have taken over the whole planet. They've got orbital defense platforms and military bases and the capital city and things like that. And so the Jaegers are part of a larger fleet
love
that is
Genestealer
actually
cult.
shadowing a Tyranid high fleet.
You want to paint me a
And they've been
Genestealer
following
cult?
this Tyranid high fleet as
Twisted
it's been
Helix,
absorbing
love
the
'em.
biomatter of planet after planet. So they're allowing it to fatten up, filled with
The
delicious
science one.
advanced biomaterials and things like that.
The one
So
that
they're
thinks
waiting for
they're
the
not a
perfect time to
Genestealer
ambush
cult.
this high fleet in a giant space battle. And so the Jaegers have been sent out in a scouting ship to see where they're going and to make sure that there's a whole area of space where the Leagues of Voting get to work without being interrupted by anybody else. Unfortunately, they fly close to Beta Decima that seems to have gone through some tough times, and they are engaged by Genestealer-controlled orbital defense weapons that manage to take them by surprise and shoot their ship down. So the Jaegers find themselves crash-landed and massively outnumbered by the Genestealer cult. So the Genestealer cult deploy their Broodbrother kill team to make an example of these interlopers.
So in terms of the Leagues of Votan, the Hernkin, we've only seen them as the pioneers riding around on their cool Magna coil bikes, right? What are the Hernkin Jaegers and how do they actually play in kill team?
So they're a brand new unit for the Leagues of Votan. Like you said before, the Hernkin we've seen are the pioneers, who are the ones on the bikes. These are the Jaegers. So they're still part of the Hernkin, but they have a
robot
role.
coat.
Now the Hernkin's primary role is the scouts. They're the advanced party of the Leagues of Votan, if you like. So they range
Please
ahead
play
of
into
the rest of
this.
the fleet and the rest of the forces. They all
Please.
identify locations of importance and drop markers or beacons or relay the information back back to the rest of the kin. But sometimes
Can't see it.
Presence there.
Pointing at the
That's where
box,
the
the
Jaegers
starter
come in.
box.
So the Jaegers
I don't
are an
hate
incredibly
it.
self-sufficient,
It's not inspiring to me.
unit, if you like.
So
And they'll get
I could have a
deployed
bunch
at
of these
locations
guys
identified
and then
by
just
the Hernkin,
spice it up
and
with a
then
few
they'll
of the like
conduct acts of
Terminator dudes or
sabotage,
something.
assassination, disruption, for extended periods on their own with very little support or reinforcement.
That I
So when
think
the
works
rest
a
of
lot
their
better.
kin arrive, they're effectively mopping up all the great work that all the Jaegers have done, whilst they take it easy back on the ship, I suppose. But yeah, they're really self-sufficient and conduct sort of guerrilla warfare type battles. That's their purpose. In the game, they have a lot of unique rules. So sort of a hybrid between extremely elite and more of the more numerous teams that sort of sit in the middle. One of the first things they do is they like to control the board. So they've set up their traps and their positions early, ready to ambush people, and so they have some funky ways of doing that. First of all, you can set them up further into the kill zone and get that early board space and make that yours. They also have a load of mines you can litter around the battlefield, so that you're forcing your opponent to move specifically or otherwise take the damage.
I haven't looked at that
from those mines, which is fun. And then they also have something quite unique called resourceful points. Because they're very, very self-sufficient and flexible and adaptable, if you like. They can generate these points that you can then spend them to either heal some wounds if you start to lose some wounds, but you can also add one to their APL to do more actions, that kind of thing.
That's always nasty.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, it's really, really useful, and especially because it's reactive, so I can keep these points and then spend it the moment I need to, which is unlike a lot of other APL rules where you normally have to set it up and it's a bit more telegraphed. This is a little more reactive, which is quite nice.
Nice.
They've also got some really, really funky operatives that do some unique things. First of all, you've got the Tracker, who has these cool goggles and a crossbow and a throwing axe.
Crossbow.
Yes. It gives this operative a real like woodsman hunter type feel, which is really nice. You've also got my favourite one, the Bombast. This one has a rule called Rortlock Negotiation. Which is named after its Rortlock revolvers. Negotiates with the revolvers, of course, which is really cool. And that allows this operative to, at the very, very start of the turning point, get some shots in before anyone else, which is really, really fun. So you've got a Magna coil rifle from your sniper. And so overall, they're a really, really fun team that likes to fight on their terms.
They never did show a good look at that
and force you to go specific ways.
Evil stump.
They're fighting a real guerrilla play style. So as long as
I'm sure that'll be on
the
Warcom.
narrative and they're in control of the game, that's when they're going to shine the best. So yeah, they're a really, really fun team.
So onto the Brood Brothers themselves. Now they're quite a sub-faction of the Genestealer cults themselves. For those who don't know about it, would you like to explain more about what the Brood Brothers are?
Yeah, so the Brood Brothers are Astra Militarum Imperial Guard that have been, brought onto the side of the Genestealer cult. They are normally waiting in hiding within loyalist regiments. They can sometimes be, we've talked about in the background of this book, where they can sometimes be the most effective squad of an Imperial Guard platoon, for example, and the commander loves them until the day of revolution happens, and then they turn on their sort of loyalist companions. This particular Brood Brother squad that we want to capture here is the most elite version of a Brood Brothers. They are veteran guardsmen who have fought in many campaigns, who have either been Genestealers all along and been in hiding, or they've been turned to the side of the Genestealers. So they have tons of combat experience.
They
They
hit
use
'em with
lots of
the
special
whammy.
weapons that the Imperial Guard use and things like that. And they are the bodyguard squad for the Brood Coven. So they protect the highest leaders of the Genestealer cult during, the dangerous points of a revolution.
Yeah, well, speaking of which, shall we deal with the four-armed elephant in the room? The Patriarch, that's going to be in the Brood Brothers kill team, isn't it? That's a terrifying notion. I'm kind of morbidly interested, yet really intimidated to find out more about it.
They're the scariest operative to date, for sure. So yeah, we've had a lot of fun with this operative.
That's
it's
wild.
Costly. It costs you numerous other operatives if you want to take them. So
You just take him?
You have a choice each game whether to take the Patriarch or one of the other ones, which we'll talk about later. Double activation, they can activate twice, really fun. They can even mind control the opponent's operatives, which is to make them do actions, which is just really, really cool.
You're just taking him.
A lot of fun, a real all-star of this team, for sure, yeah.
Wow. So we've got those others. We've got the Mages, of course, a full-on dedicated Psyker, really, and the Primus, who's
the last kill team or this most recent version of Kathleen is a White Dwarf team that has all the
cult, so you have a lot of support rules from that operative. It's also a very powerful Psyker, so you've got some cool psychic unique actions to do. And then the Primus
that guy
is
and
the
that guy in the
strategic military
Nexus.
mastermind of the cult. So that's going to give you extra CP, influence over initiative, which is really important, and they're also a good fighter to boot as well. But between those three operatives, you've actually got quite a lot of flexibility on how you want to play them, depending on what your opponent's playing, that kind of thing. And like Tom was saying before, they're also an elite veteran guardsman squad, effectively. So if you don't want to play with one of the Brood Coven and you just want to take extra operatives,
dang, nearly an hour.
More than worth doing as well, because they
I figured this would go an
really
hour.
Funky interaction rules between them, which makes this team quite a flex team. You can really change how you want to play them depending on what you want for that game.
So what exactly do we have in the box then?
So in the box, you get these two new pieces of terrain. All the other terrain here is from the Killzone Beta Decima stuff that you can get separately. Then you've got both of the teams. There's quite a lot of models in here because we've added the Brood Coven as well. So in terms of models, it's one of the sort of heftiest model amounts that you get in a kill team box. You also then get card packs for each of the teams with data cards, with equipment cards, all the sort of stuff you've seen in Salvation for the scouts and the Scorpions. And then also a book with all of your missions, your background, team rules in there as well. Token sheets for both the teams. So
I'm gonna buy that
the
Night Lords one.
Minefield tokens, which have blank sides as well, so you don't know which.
I have a sort of credit system that I work on now that started because of that.
We wanted to make sure people kind of
I have to paint 3 of something before I can buy 1 of something.
Well, that is
although I kind of cheat. I was like, I can buy a 10-man box of infantry, even though I painted 5, 3 squads of 5.
Soon. But before you go, we've got even more stuff on its way, so stick around.
Okay. All right. What are we? It's Necromunda? I do like Necromunda. That is also where people are eating well. Down in Necromunda. Down in the Underhive. Oh, that's it? I don't like teasers.
So that was our second teaser trailer. It looks like we're heading back to Necromunda. What do you think, Si?
It does indeed, yeah. Necromunda's a big place, of course, so it could be set anywhere. Who knows? Indeed. Who knows? And, of course, some shiny new miniatures by the look of it as well. If you reckon you know the answers to these questions, folks, make sure you join us on social media and let us know what you think.
And for more information, head to warhammercommunity.com.
They get
I
X.com?
cannot believe it. Even more fantastic announcements, and even that teaser I promised as well. Who knew? Well, I reckon that's about it. Oh, I almost forgot. There is just one more thing to show you. Enjoy.
Oh yeah, Sigmar lied.
Sigmar lied. Sigmar told us we were chosen. Warriors, stolen from death. To be reforged as his weapons. The immortal sons and daughters of the Storm God.
That's bad. Yeah, it's bad. Oh no. Oh no. It's the rats. Rat cavalry. I love them rats. I love them. I went Edeneth instead of Skaven because I didn't want to paint a million rats. But I love them. I love them so much. What did Sigmar lie about? He lies about a lot of things.
Sigmar lied. He never told us the true cost of this honor. Soon, all that will remain of me is an echo, lost to the storm. But until that day, I fight.
Weird thing to build around. Like, oh, we knew that. Like, yeah, they kind of lose it as they come back. It's a good trailer, though.
It's official. Warhammer Age of Sigmar's new edition is here and is coming very, very soon. I'm joined by Ben and Phil and Matt from the AOS Studios to chat about all
paint
things
Dominion
Age
for me?
of Sigmar. Guys,
Please.
welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks a lot.
First of all, let's jump straight in with that cinematic.
Let's
come
do
on,
it.
that thing is absolutely amazing. We were blown away by that. Let's talk about some of your top highlights from the cinematic trailer.
I mean, it was gobsmacking. The first time we saw it, we were like, what? It's just absolute tour de force. We've been working with these characters and these different factions for a while, but seeing them brought to life in that way, it just pitch perfect.
Sick.
Really something.
Yeah, I love that they've worked so hard on that as well. You can tell that they're really bringing those sort of like miniatures to life. That bit where the Skaven comes sort of like rolling down that hill with the rattling gun is just absolutely amazing as well. So obviously this event is sort of huge in the cinematic trailer that we've just seen. But obviously it's just a small glimpse into the threat that the Mortal Realms are facing right now. So let's talk a little bit about the lore and sort of where we find ourselves in the narrative of Age of Sigmar. So whereabouts are we now?
The hour of ruin has dawned, right? It's a new era for Age of Sigmar. So we've just come out of the era of the Beast, very destruction focused. Chaos strikes back. We've seen the Skaven enter play in a great cataclysm called the Vermin Doom.
The Horseman doing.
Explosion with all the stuff rising out of the ground. That's an entire nation of Skaven. It's not just a small area. Has gate crashed the party. A full third of the Great Parch is now completely destroyed and replaced by Blight City, the Skaven otherworld, and they are pouring out of there in their billions. So the Stormcast Eternals and their mates better shore up those gaps pretty quickly, because that tide is coming and it's not stopping anytime soon.
Nice. So you chatted a little bit about the Skaven there and sort of how the mortal realms have sort of been reforged and stuff. So let's chat a little bit about the Skaven. What makes them so much more dangerous and so much more sort of horrifying in this new edition?
Well, we've seen the Skaven before. They're old friends, aren't they? We've all grown up with Skaven in a way. They're so Warhammer. What we're seeing now is not just a few of them creeping around in the sewers, but a real tidal wave of these things. And the horror of the Skaven really is coming through, as well as the humour, because of course there are a few beats of them running away and getting speared, and they're a giant rattling blaster form.
The Claw Lord.
The Claw Lord just bailing. There's still that sense of humour to the Skaven, and their kind of slightly charming cowardice. But we are also seeing the Skaven on their best day, which is pretty terrifying, with all the weird Frankensteinian monsters and technology and numbers, just plain numbers. So there are, they're really coming as never before, and that's kind of fun to see them come out of the shadows like that.
Yeah, totally. And we can't talk about the Skaven without mentioning the Stormcast Eternals, obviously. So let's chat a little bit about the Hallowed Knights and the Ruination Chamber as well. Tell us about that.
Sigmar hit the big button, didn't he, and opened another chamber. The Ruination Chamber, these guys, as we saw in the main character in the trailer, been reforged so many times. They're starting to lose that little bit of themselves, losing that thing that made them human, and they're turning into incredible warriors that can go into some of those really awful places in the mortal realm. So we saw that, didn't we? The regular Stormcast are there, and there's bits of their armour coming away because they can't quite get in there. But the guys from the Ruination Chamber, in they go. We are the guys to do that.
Yeah, that's almost the benefit they get from the
Terminators.
Immortality is a curse. We've talked about this. Like, it might seem like a blessing to be these big, strong heroes, and they've got all the kit, but really they're dying over and over again. That's not a good thing, and they're paying the price.
No, and that was really one of my favorite things from the trailer. I think it's the first time we've, really
that guy's American.
show that so clearly. Both the blessing of immortality,
get him out of here.
As Phil said, the curse of the immortality, and the kind of character that we see throughout the trailer, seeing that journey, both of becoming more veteran and becoming more elite and a stronger warrior.
Talking to the microphone.
Losing that
long.
aspect of the humanity, and ultimately,
but people loved it the last time I did this.
That journey, becoming kind of so
no weird
jaded,
microphone stuff this time.
That's
why the camera angle's so weird, because it was my phone interfering with the mic. I think
these are kind of
that and other things. I rewired it. The wire's not by any other wires, and the phone's over there. And
across the mortal realms.
Mostly stopped, as far as I can tell.
So what can players expect to experience with this new edition of Age of Sigmar?
This will be the biggest shift in rules since the introduction
They're having
of
an
Age of
audio
Sigmar.
problem.
This is the first ground-up rewrite of the rule set for Age of Sigmar since the very first edition came out. We really had three major goals in mind when we were doing that. The first was opening up the game to more players than ever. Really trying to make sure that the game was easy to learn, easy for new players to get into, yet retaining the tactical depth that makes it really difficult to master, where you could spend years and years playing and gaining that skill and that skill expression. The second thing was building on the interactivity in third edition, with more reactive commands and more opportunities for counterplay in your opponent's turn. And all of that kind of comes together in these really nail-biting finishes, these really closely fought battles where every game can be exciting and tense. And, this is such a big shift for the rules.
My chair broke.
Such a big update that not only have we done a major update to all the core rules, but also every faction will be getting brand new rules for this edition. So there's lots and lots of exciting things to look forward to coming up soon.
Yeah. So you guys were obviously heavily involved in the development of the new edition. One thing that I really, really want to know is what got yourselves and some of the playtesters most excited about this new edition?
There's a lot to chew over.
So the bit for me that I really love, I think it's a small change, but it has huge impacts, is combat range. So weapon ranges have gone away. So for melee, and everything now runs off combat range, so a 3-inch range. And that works for things like claiming objectives, how characters can interact with other units, how benefits can be applied.
And everyone has pointy metal now. No spears, no swords, only pointy metal.
Than it ever has before.
Yeah.
Melee
You
weapon.
touched on it there, is that it is slicker, it's easier to play, and
no points
telling
different.
a story on the battlefield and seeing, having those games which you talk about 10 years later.
Yeah.
And having the rules almost get out of the way to be able to do that.
Yeah.
And the way we've made these rules is they're so accessible and easy to use. We'll come to that in a minute. That it's far easier to see the ebb and flow of the battle and to do cool stuff on the battlefield.
Yeah.
It's really good fun.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's really been kind of learning from all of the editions in the past. Through that work of making it more accessible, what we're really doing is trying to make it more elegant as a rule set, and looking for opportunities.
Sometimes I feel bad about being such a 40k guy. It's like they're doing all this other stuff. It's all cool.
And any of that skill expression
What?
that comes
and the flavor.
Where's finding more Warhammer 40,000?
You've said before, Matt, as well, we've got almost a decade.
The grimdark future of the 41st millennium.
All over the world to be able to put into that.
Well, and just our own lived experiences, the amount of the
what are the exorcists doing? What are they doing? What are they doing?
This is really a culmination of that.
Wow,
I couldn't be more excited.
I got it.
Thank
your hammer.
That's great. So let's talk Spearhead as well, because this
I
is
got
a brand new way
plasma
to
pistol.
play Age of Sigmar. Talk to us
Well,
about it.
it already blew my arm up because I got a robot
So
arm.
Spearhead, it comes in the launch box, so everything you need to play Spearhead, the models, the
Shouldn't
board, the
handle
terrain,
him.
the cards, the rules for every
Drop the
faction
paint off.
as well are all included in the box, so you can play it straight out of the box on day one.
As you said, a brand new way to play the game. It's a small format game. It uses a lot of brand new mechanics people haven't seen before. There's really compelling card mechanics for tactics and commands. And it's just, a really, really exciting, really fast and furious, and very balanced way to play the game.
That speed is what's taken the studio by storm, isn't it?
Yeah.
The amount of games that are played, because you can play it in an hour, play it at lunchtime really easily.
But there's still all that tactical depth. It really feels like you're still playing a big war game. You're playing Warhammer, but it's a lot easier to do. Yeah. And each of the spearheads has been really well balanced against
stop
each
it
other.
from doing
Even
that.
if it looks like you might have the advantage.
I don't know if that's coming through with
Indrasta being
this
a very powerful champion of Sigmar and her elite Stormcast Eternals.
I can't get it to do it now.
The real punch of that spearhead doesn't show up till halfway through the game. That gives a kind of inbuilt narrative to the game. So you've got this scenario where your normal Stormcaster trying to hold the line and hold back the enemy, and then pow, straight.
Like in that One Punch Man game, where you just have to survive as one guy, and
so there's like an
One
inbuilt
Punch Man
story
shows
to
up
that.
and he wins.
There are choices you can make, so you can still give your guys different command traits or artifacts. You can give your army different ways to fight. And of course, the board is double-sided. So you've got Akshi side on one side, if you want to fight in Akshi, fire and passion. On the other side is Gairan, which is much more lush vegetation, healing, and the cycle of life. And the cards that you pick up every turn.
What's the death place called? I forget.
Go there, kill that, get your dudes over that side. So there is an extremely large amount of ramifications of events you can play with Spearhead.
It must be so great for sort of experienced players to be able to get games in really quick, but also players that might be new to kind of AOS being able to play that, and also great for like the tournament scene as well. If you can play X amount of games
dug too greedily, too deep.
Yeah, it's been really interesting. Early on in the development of
Underwater
Spearhead,
digging.
We brought in a group of kind of veteran playtesters. It ended up turning into effectively a tournament over the weekend where they all got really, really into it and really competitive. And so this is something that we've seen really resonate with players, and people gain a lot of excitement for.
I think what's been fun from like an experienced player is picking up any Spearhead, and just because there's so few rules around their battle traits and there's so few war scrolls.
Oh, is that combat
you
patrol?
can just pick it up and play a game and not feel like you're missing out on anything. So there's quite a lot of times when we go into the playtest room to play a game and go, what we're going to play with? You know what, I've not played with the Glimpse Like Gits for a while, so you take those off the shelf and you can have a game. And again, it's still around about an hour, even with something that you've not played for a while.
You're just working your way through them. Yeah, that's great. Let's chat a little bit about faction packs as well, because I know you mentioned this earlier, Matt. You've used this new edition as a really good opportunity to sort of update and rebalance and rewrite all of the units for the armies in Age of Sigmar. So let's chat about that a little bit.
Because there's such kind of sweeping changes throughout the rule set, it was really the perfect opportunity to go back and revisit factions. We had some playtest games early on and some conversations early on where, it was a big kind of learning point for us that, the game could never be, would never be less complex than the most complex faction, because you might either be playing with that faction or against that faction. And so, you know, a lot of that same approach to streamlining and really trying to focus in on the most impactful rules.
I was playing Like a Dragon earlier.
But removing
Completely
a lot
independent
of
of
the
this.
other
And there's a
detail that
lady,
maybe you hadn't ran into before.
and
So a
she
really good
joins your
example is the
party,
reintroduction
and she's
of
hanging
a
out
limited set of
in the
universal
place
special rules. So things
the
like
main character is staying
champions
in,
or standard
and
bearers,
she has no
musicians,
shoes
you know,
on,
some weapon
no
abilities.
shoes, no socks.
You know, now instead of needing
barefoot
a
in
full
somebody
rule
else's
on a
house.
war scroll to explain how this works, you can just say champion,
I-
and everyone knows how that works, and it. You know,
I mean,
that
I
is
gotta say,
really,
you know,
really clean,
Japan,
really
they take
easy
their
to
shoes
do.
off
So
at
it
the
makes
door.
each
When you
war
ain't got no
scroll,
socks on, then you got bare feet.
much
That's how it is.
faster to read, much easier to use. Every single
It's very
war scroll,
discordant.
fits on a single-sided
Feet
card
for free.
with all of the information, kind of no matter how big the character, how powerful the character.
We've also done quite a lot of work on stats and characteristics as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
So an awful lot of time spent.
I'm not interested in this. I'm not going to play any Age of Sigmar.
Putting them in categories. How many wounds should this unit of cavalry have? How many wounds should this one have? So that it makes a lot more sense visually when you just look at the battlefield and you can see, well, what sort of armor save, what sort of movement should this unit have, what health should this unit have. So it's all a lot more.
I would like for them to end. I got other things I got to do.
That is that the
I'm falling asleep in my chair.
Quite visual. We like to look at the battlefield and look at our war scrolls and our books, and each ability has a color to go with it to tell you what phase you use that ability in. So you're not having to go through all of your rules
The
all
camera
the time.
with the lights all over.
Game where we've forgotten one, haven't we?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly. Oh, I could have done that. Yeah.
And that's just really easy way to pass the rules and to know what you can do at certain times.
We've really tried to look from a lore perspective, from a miniatures perspective, from a rules perspective.
You're really
one of
talking
our
a lot.
main tenets of the
I don't
game
have anything to
is
react
that
to
the
here.
rules reflect the mortal realms, right? And so we think the game works best when all three of those things are working in concert, where it feels intuitive to players. And so this is really the first time we've been able to go back and really differentiate the different races, the different units, the different factions, and give them much more of an identity through the characters.
Shouldn't skip
So
exercising.
these war scrolls, they'll be free to access on launch, right?
So late now.
Yeah, that's right. So there's digital versions of them available at launch, and there's also card versions of them.
Play some more
so you
Like
can
a
have them
Dragon.
like that
I'd
in
really
game
like to
table.
finish that
Also,
game.
we've got updated rules for all of the armies of renown, regiments of renown, you know, content from the Dawnbringer
If you've
series.
played it, there's a point in the game
been
where
playing
more
through,
maps open
all
up.
updated
I'm like,
for the new
oh,
edition.
oh God.
Everybody gets something new and cool.
I
to
really
look
thought I was
through.
going to start making quicker
Hopefully it will
progress
inspire
now.
you to telling great stories on the battlefield and having a lot of games of Age of Sigmar. So yeah, hope you will enjoy it.
Great. Thank you so much. Well, Ben, Phil, Matt, thank you so much for joining us and coming into the studio to chat a little bit about Age of Sigmar. We cannot wait for it.
No worries.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
Well, that's all we've got time for. What a show and what a series of announcements. Thank you to Adepticon for having us, and thank you to you for being with us. We hope you've enjoyed it just as much as we have. Remember, you can head to the Warhammer community website if you'd like to find out more about any of the upcoming releases. And don't forget to follow us on all our socials to keep up to date with all
I
the
do.
latest news. Thanks again.
I already
and we'll
do
see
this.
you next time on the Warhammer Preview Show.
Yeah. Good night. Yes, thank you. Thank you. Here, let's do an incognito window. And we will go to Warhammer Community. We got any good posts? What do we want to look at? Let's look at these Chaos Space Marines. Fine. See, my internet is not very quick right now. Yes, yes, yes. Yes, he looks good. Oh, he's got the hammer. What is that? Some sort of maul, yes. Plasma pistol. A jump man. We love a jump man. Night Lord jump man. Very good. Mwah, mwah, mwah. Okay. Look very good. We got these guys. This guy, I love this man. Look at him. What is his deal? Why is he like this? Is he 2 people? I think he is. So many of these are just so close to being like the Dark Commune. Like the Necromancer one, I really thought about just getting that one. The one they just did that has a werewolf in it. It's like the Necromancer is trying to cure her husband of lycanthropy. I really thought about doing some minor conversion to that and having it be like a Nurgle-themed Dark Commune. I don't know how the werewolf would fit in, but not everything's posted yet, looks like. Alright, show me the man-eating tree. Yeah, load it up. Load it up. Look at that. Okay. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love what is that haircut called? Because I love that haircut. And I love that she has it and it's vines and it's so good. I am here right now. Not everything's here. Okay. You lied to me. You lied to me. Alright, let's look at these guys too. Fair play, fair play. Bone dogs. Bone gargoyle men. Just guys. Just a couple we're just normal men. We're just innocent men. I'm not. I'm a pervert. I don't know. I don't know. Alright, we got the trailer. That thing. Let's take a look at these dwarfs. We saw the thing we wanted to. I just wanted to see the tree. God, internet, you suck. Just show me the dwarves. Show me the dwarves. My battery at? Looks good, looks good. Yeah. Alright, give me more. Give me more, give me more. Give me more. Hey, I like these guys. See, that's a lot of work. That's a lot of painting. Give me more, give me more. What else? What else we got? Yeah, these guys. Show me these guys. I love them. He's got a toque. I gotta watch some wrestling. Is that a needle gun? See, I love this look. They're very industrial. They're not StarCraft. They're industrial. This man, this artificial man, in his coat, in his boots, I love them. I'm not gonna misgender them. They're a robot. I don't know. We'll stay with they them. Y'all gonna hate me for that now, but sorry. Sorry, not sorry. Crossbow. Okay. And then we got an official Brood Brothers kit. That's cool. They really are helping people out. It's like, here's Brood Brothers. Here's Kriegers. Here's Night Lords. All the things you love. Here they are in Kill Team. But you could use them for the regular game. They're a little pricey, but that's why we're okay doing it, because we're going to charge you a lot of money. But not as much money as before. These guys, yeah, know them, love them. Some boxes. What else? That was not the... Not the page we wanted. That didn't take me where I wanted to go, and I'm offended. Alright. Is anything else? Anything else? Nah. Okay. We're good. And then the Spear Lady. You guys saw the Spear Lady. Let's go down. I want to show you that giant that's going to make me break my rule. Where is he? Here we go. I want these too, but no, this guy. I have to have him. Look at him. He's so fun. Show me that troll hag. We're gonna get him. No, it's gonna take me all the way back, isn't it? Okay. I have to scroll off. I'm going to search for the term troll hag. You've done me rotten. You've done me rotten, Warhammer community. You've done me a rotten. The article where she shows up is going to be so far back. There she is. Did she not call a troll hag? Where is she? There she is. There she is. My wife. Marry me. I love you. So yeah, I'm going to get that too. Alright. This went on, honestly, as long as I thought it was going to, but that turned out to be longer than I wanted. They didn't really have the juice. It was fine. No complaints. That cinematic was sick. I love the direction they're going in with the new Leagues of Votann. I really only love the robot in the coat, but it's a good choice. Dwarves, fun, love them. Evil Tree, love it. Side part with vines, love it. Horseman, dead horseman, love it. The chaos stuff was good. The new cast marines, no complaints. Weird they're doing 2 boxes, but yeah. Love the Horn Lady. She is also my wife. Call me Horn Lady. Call me Troll Hag. That's it. That's it. I've run out of things to say. I didn't have much to say to begin with. Because I don't care about how you play Age of Sigmar. Play it if you want to. Fine. The 2 men in the coat, love them too. I think it's 2 men. 2 men or a coat on a pole. Not sure. Love that. But anyways, this is my very long-winded way of signing off and saying goodbye. What does Winners say? I forget. Happy wargaming. That's what Winners says. Happy wargaming.